Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette Kuntze. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello, welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette and I'm your host. Today, my guest is Camille Miller. She is a pioneer of the soul professional movement and founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership. Camille, thank you so much for being my guest here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I feel that at the moment, a lot of people are awakening and feel that there is something that the soul is calling them. So can you let us a little bit to know about your own journey, how you find your calling, and what is going on in your professional business?
Yeah, thank you. I definitely feel like there is a paradigm shift happening in the world, and people are starting to align who they are with what they do. And it's becoming more and more evident. We used to help people like in their 50s with midlife crisis, and now we see people in their 30s going, nope, I need to follow my purpose. There's more to life. And it's pretty incredible. So I love that we're talking about that today. For my own story, my background is not-for-profit management. That's where I started. Before I created the Natural Life Business Partnership, which is a global professional organization, I was CEO for the state of New Jersey for the Northeast Organic Farming Association. I later became president, but it put me working on our food and farming and our organic label. But it was there that I met these spiritually aligned entrepreneurs and these people that were really making a difference. And I think up to that point, I didn't realize that my professional life and my personal life, I kept very separate in the world. And it was when that job defunded in 2015 that I found myself looking for my professional tribe. Like, where are these people that made me feel fully aligned? You know, I was a credible professional, but I was also very spiritual, very holistically grounded, right? And I found that the business groups were very aggressive, pushy, stabbing with a business card, but the holistic groups were way too woo-woo and not grounded in business or professionalism at all. So in kind of looking for my people, I ended up creating what I was looking for. And the organization has really grown as I've grown my own business. I have helped people build businesses for many, many, many years. Strategic planning is my specialty. But now I get to do it in a community. We've been around for 8 years, and we went to a global model in 2018, way before the pandemic and the Zoom. And so I had to convince people that video and a global presence would be the future, because I absolutely believed it. I believe I had a download ton of telling me what was going to be needed in the world. And now I have this beautiful global community. It's not really around me. It's more of a professional organization and business and mindset incubator of people growing large brands and very successful companies, but staying in alignment with who they are. And there's not a lot of mentors in the world that have done it successfully, have broken that 6-figure ceiling, and are really staying in alignment. And part of my goal was just creating this safe space and letting people know that we can do business differently, that we don't have to follow the rules that I was taught in business school. When we studied Disney, we study McDonald's, you know, because I lead differently and I care about every single employee and person that works in my company. And I just think there's a different way of doing business right now. And it's really, your purpose is beyond your profit. And that's where we have to stay aligned. And when we can all come together, that's how we're going to impact the world. We really need the success and to build our wealth to impact the world. But when we all come together, that's a big collective influence. And that's the importance. And that's the pioneering of the soul professional movement, which we trademarked last year, and really having us come together. So that's a little background on me and how I created what I created.
Yeah, yeah, this is so powerful, and I totally hear you, because from my own background, I come from science as well. So I studied chemical environmental technology and also have a medical background. And then I went into business, and for me it was like, okay, now I'm wearing in the black suit, being in a business consultancy. And somehow I lost during this time my connection to my soul, and also yeah, I've done great work and I had an impact, and I help people in the personal development and in organizations in transformation. So this was all something that I feel also passionate about, but it was not that I really could use my whole gifts. Like, I'm clairvoyant and precognitive since I had a near-death experience at the age of 8. So yeah, for me it was like, okay, the science is there, spirituality is there, and business is there, but as you said, it was somehow separate. Like, I didn't show up woo-woo during business. Yeah, and this was like, okay, if I would do that, this would be strange. It was kind of, I would not say not allowed, but somehow there was this, either
stigma.
you do, yeah, kind of
stigma. Yeah,
the word. Yeah. And now seeing, okay, more and more people showing up with, they have the connection to their soul. They know that they're here on this planet for a reason, and they are here for helping and supporting and leading the paradigm shift. It becomes more, people get more used to that. And I really would like to understand a little bit more how you see this connection. You already said a little bit, but how do you see this connection between this being led by the soul or by spirit, and at the same time using this mission and purpose to create profit?
Yeah. So it takes both, right, to be successful. You need both your masculine energy and your feminine energy. You need to know the numbers and the measurements and the logic, and in some respects you have to be pretty aggressive when you're starting out in a company. But you also need the nurturing, the kindness, the generosity to stay in alignment, right? To follow your purpose and know who you are helping and serving. Both of those have to dovetail together. I believe, and we see it more and more and more in my experience, that we were brought up with this limiting belief, at least I was in the 80s, that you can't have it all. That if you're going to be successful, you have to look a certain way, you have to show up a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to act a certain way. And what we know is that's not really true, right? We teach people all the time of, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Like, if you don't like doing social media, don't do it. You don't like going live on video, don't do it. You know, there's a way that you are going to attract clients that are exactly like you, because really we attract who we are. I say we attract who we are 2 years ago. So whoever you were 2 years ago, that's your perfect client. That's who totally understands you, and you have all the equipment and knowledge and know-how you need to help that person. Otherwise they wouldn't be attracted to you. It's the law of attraction. Right. So I believe our purpose comes in so many different ways. But I talk to doctors and lawyers and accountants and people that you wouldn't think are soul aligned, that are actually reaching the height of their careers. And they're saying, oh my gosh, this does not make my heart sing. This is not what I thought it would be. I call myself an alternative business engineer. And it's really to help people take the skills that they have and create a profitable, sustainable business from there. And it's, you know, how you set it up, how you look at it, but really being authentic, right? If you only want to work 4 days a week, or you want more time for your self-care, how do we put that in your daily strategic plan? It should all be in there, right? Because our personal lives and our professional lives dovetail, especially when you're an entrepreneur, right? You need both sides. So I hope that answered your question. There's a place for all of it, but I think that there's such a shift happening, especially since the lockdown. in the pandemic, people realizing, wow, this is really where I want to go, right? We're calling it, what are we calling it here? The Great Resignation here in the States. It's everyone's resigning from their corporate positions because they don't want to do the commute. They don't want to be in a place that doesn't make their heart sing anymore. Like they're really looking for something else. And I think they think it needs to look like something. But my mission is to say, no, it doesn't. You're the differentiator. And there is enough business for all of us in this world. If we come from a place of abundance, we don't have to worry about competition. We are the differentiator. You should be able to give someone your business plan and they cannot mimic who you are. They cannot mimic it. People have tried to mimic what I'm creating. They can't because they're not me. They're coming at it from a place of profit, not from a place of service. So it doesn't work that same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I experienced also is that people are becoming more open for kind of going into this adventure of their own journey. And also like my clients, that they are successful, no question, but they, what you said, don't feel that their heart is singing or that they really have this kind of driving moment inside them that is super aligned with their values and that really brings them out of bed Monday morning. So like, no, yeah, it's Monday. Yeah, I can do what I love to do, and not like, okay, it's Monday morning. I have 1 week in front of me and 9-to-5 job, and I will get my money, of course. But this, I think, is a change that we can see, that people become more aware of, who they truly are. And if the job they are doing is in alignment with the values, because sometimes it's like, no, you have to leave the values at home when you enter the company.
Yeah.
If it is aligned with their true essence, with their true identity, and of course the gifts that are inside of them. I have seen, like you said, like lawyers that are amazing painters and artists and creative, and you think, this doesn't go together. So something is strange. How do you explain that?
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people we're really creatives. That's what we are, because we want to create these positions that are all of us put together, right? And we all have these facets about us that we don't acknowledge in our professional lives every day, which is it's important. And that's part of what our community is. It's bringing it all together. It's talking about your soul, your mindset, your creativeness. If it's, books or paintings or hiking, whatever it is, that we all have all of these different facets to us, and it's okay to talk about. That's who we are. That's getting to know someone at a deeper level, which I think is important in business as much as everything else.
Can you give us an example? Like, what have you experienced? Like someone you would never know that this is inside of them.
So when I first started this organization, I found a lot of medical doctors, around that 50 age, that are at the top of their career. You're making all of this money, and they're like, wow, I had no idea this isn't what I signed up for. Right? I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm making the money. I have successful practices. Maybe they can take off and travel and do other things. But there was no joy left in what they were doing, because now they're really monitored by insurance. What insurance allows them to do is not what they would do if it was only on them, right? I know a ton of doctors that have stopped taking insurance because they don't want to be put under these rules and regulations that they don't believe in, right? So, but today we see a lot of attorneys actually I've seen that, were with big firms, and they're like, oh, the work they had to churn out to get the dollar and make their time, and how they had to charge everyone, it didn't feel good. It felt like more of, it was really about the money, not the outcome. And, those type of people were coming to us all the time. And like, I spoke to one attorney that we worked with that was churning out contract law and real estate deals, but their background was really in environmental science. And when we switched and just said, well, how about you start working with organic farms or soils, and now they actually work with a lot of hop farms and beer breweries that are doing things. So they still do all the stuff they loved about becoming an attorney, but they adjusted it so they're in alignment. They love hanging on the farms and talking about the soils and doing that piece. So it's just those little tweaks of changing to bring in the stuff that maybe your limiting beliefs don't align. Like you were told, well, doctors don't do that, or lawyers don't do that, or this isn't how we run this business, right? It's getting rid of those stereotypes and saying, yeah, but I do. I do things a little differently. And that's how you can shift in alignment, no matter what you do. No matter what you do in life or where your skill set is. And some people obviously switch everything, right? They could be in a corporate job. I knew a CEO that was running hospitals, right? And now he owns like a little food business. And he's like, I'm happy. I'm just really happy, right? He doesn't make anywhere near the same amount of money, but that's okay. You know, they went where they needed to go to be happy and joyful.
Yeah, and sometimes it sounds like there need to be an allowance from outside so that people feel they can make that change. And of course, it can happen that if you are in a family line where everybody has been a doctor or a lawyer, then it's kind of this expectation. Of course, she will become or he will become a lawyer or doctor and not an organic farmer, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the expectation from outside and giving allowance as well. How do you see this?
Yeah. Society has really crafted what we should be. But I think that's even breaking. Like I have 3 children in their early 20s. My first just graduated college. And of course, they were brought up with a creative entrepreneur mother. So that's a little bit different. But I allow them just to be. And all 3 of them went into the arts. And people are like, how can you send your kids to college to come out with an art degree? And I was like, because they're creatives. That's what's going to make their heart sing, right? It doesn't matter. They'll make money. My oldest she went to film first, but ended up graduating with a degree in historic costume design. And it's been really interesting how she's found work. She is in a job. She literally said to me this week, Mom, this is so incredible. I'm literally doing a craft that I love every day, and I'm helping people look their best every day on stage. And I get paid for this. She's like, I can't believe that this is my job. And I said, and the reason she gets paid so well is because she's in a craft that people don't have anymore. Right? Like that is such a specialty, but she ended up getting an incredible amount of job offers right out of college. And, and I used to hear, how can you allow your kids to go to college and, come out with art degrees and history degrees and things that don't mean anything? To me, it was when they found their passion, they will find the money and the career they loved. I mean, that's what I did, right? And I got a lot of pushback as well. But, you don't go in if you're going into it for the money, that's a bad way to do it, right? You're not going to find your alignment. But if you go into it to serve others and just really love it, the money will just pour in, because when you are in alignment, it just flows naturally. And it's a hard concept for people to understand, but we're seeing it happen. I mean, there are success stories all over. I mean, part of my podcast, my books, it's all about success stories of people when they get into alignment, it just changes. And that's the difference between just making it and grand success. It's a mindset shift change.
Do you think that there is also something like a mindset shift at the moment regarding professions? Like, for many, many years, like if you are a doctor or a lawyer, banker, then you have a good job. But now it is also that you know about the old crafts, like knowing how to grow permaculture, knowing how to design, knowing how to create arts and use music for transformation. So I think from my point of view, there's kind of this change happening.
Yes.
I'm not sure about your opinion on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I do believe that. I think there's an appreciation for all those little things that we have lost appreciation for. And it's starting to come back. And I think the pandemic had stuff to do with that too, right? All of a sudden when there was no movies and no plays and no new stuff coming out, people were like, wow, I didn't realize that this is an art, right? It takes actors, it takes set designers. I have those in my children as well. One's an actor and one does the writing and design, but to see what happens behind all of those performances on a film set, on a stage, to see all the workings behind the scenes to make that happen is incredible. But a lot of people aren't getting those skills anymore. So, but I feel that like creatives now are starting to go back. And it's going to be interesting, I think, as we go forward, because more and more people want this laptop lifestyle, right? They're more nomadic. They are traveling. They want to bring their work with them. I'm one of them. I love working all over the world. But if you're in a trade, right, you need a home base. If you're in an art, you probably need, unless you're an artist, you can travel, but it really depends on your creativity. So there will be some type of disconnect, I think, as we go forward, or a great need for all of those crafts to come back. I know for my daughter, we're seeing like seamstress and tailors, like now she's in costuming, but she gets calls all the time of, hey, can you help me with this? Can you make a dress? Can you do, because there's not people that do it anymore. Right. And we were just talking to a seamstress. She's in her 80s and she's like, I don't even have an apprentice. And she's like, I'll apprentice because I don't know where life's taking me. It's just, you know, those skills are important. I think the world's going to need creatives and people haven't thought about it. You know, yeah. I can't imagine the world without art, without movies, without, you know, even all these people doing TikToks and on social media, they're all creatives. That's how they get there. Like, they're all creatives. So it's going to be interesting, the shifts in the world that are about to come. It's happening, but I don't think we see the full ramifications just yet.
Mm. So I can remember my grandmother, she was, I don't know the English word, but she was sewing clothes. And so I learned from her everything like knitting and crochet and, I don't know, stitching is perhaps the word. And it was amazing what you can do with some wool and a needle. And she was always sitting there and teaching me something like that. And also she had a huge garden and had all the veggies in there. So every time I visited her, something was harvested and I had to clean up the cherries or the beans or whatever. And then they were all cooked and stored. And so this was really this old tradition, what we think we need for surviving, because she teaches that. And for her, it was natural. And for me, it is still naturally. But when I see the younger generations, it's like, no, this is something that is not common anymore. They don't know how to, for example, to knit. Yeah. And but they have other technologies, like they know how to use the artificial intelligence right now to create beautiful pictures. Okay, I'm learning that. But it's like, okay,
right.
Yeah, so the life is changing. The artwork is changing, or what it means to be creative. But still people are creative in a different way.
They're creative in a different way. Yeah. I mean, I love the old thing. One of the things that I've always talked about with my kids is I grew up in an Italian American family, and we cooked everything from scratch all the time. We still, to this day, sit down as a family and eat our meals because it's a part of ending our day and talking about our day. And I brought up my kids exactly the same way. It used to be amazing if they had friends, like we'd have them for dinner, and like having a family dinner or staying at our table was a really neat experience for them, because so many kids don't cook today or see a family meal, which I didn't know. I know it now, but I didn't know it at the time because that's all I ever did for my family. I did what my family did, right? So it was very different. But then the kids, as they got older, start to say, oh, well, we don't do this. We think it's so cool that you cook, right? And then I taught my kids all cook. And they actually bake. I don't bake, but they are incredible cooks and bakers. But I think that's also a dying art, right? Hopefully it came back during COVID because people had to cook to survive. And the first thing when we were going into lockdown, the first thing I did was build a garden, right? Because I was like, we don't know if our food supply is going to go, and start to harvest and take care of like your basics, like rice, your potatoes, like all of your staple items. And I started like a huge pantry, and I had to teach my kids, like, we're going back to the recipes my family made during our Great Depression that I learned, right? Because I grew up with them. It was like, I never taught you these recipes, but we don't know what we're going to run out of. And this is how we're going to survive. So let's start talking about what this world would look like if we don't have food stores or trucks or gas. So it was kind of interesting to kind of go back to that world. I think all of those skills are so needed, but we'll see. Same with like homesteading, right? Or how to fix a mended sock. My mother sewed, so everything was fixed. I don't really sew, but I knew how to fix stuff. And of course, now I have someone, my kid does everything. So, but she's like, oh, so many people throw things out, but she makes everything by hand, which is so different today. And we have a short-term use for everything, right? Everything's like a throwaway fashion, throwaway everything, right? That's why we have dollar stores. Everything's cheap today and not long lasting. It's a very different mentality than they had even when I grew up 50 years ago.
Yeah, I totally hear that. For me, I changed my life 5 years ago. I went from Germany to Madeira Island, which is a tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean belonging to Portugal. And I'm sitting here between banana trees and orange trees, and we have spring water, and it's a very abundant
beautiful
island. And so for me, it was clear, okay, I have my organic market. I know the farmers where to go. So of course, not during the pandemic, I had to see that I get cat food. But like my normal life is that I buy these things from the field or from the farmers. Or from the market. But
yeah,
this didn't change during lockdown. What changed was that we didn't have any tourists and that we had some rules going into the stores, but we never really had this problem here, as this is very abundant island. And so I see that
very different.
We come, on the one hand, we come back to these core values, I would say, that are, especially now, as you said, that the economy is going down worldwide. We have to really figure out, do we need the new piece of clothes that we will wear 2 times and then throw away? Or is it something that is of higher value, long-lasting food that is more nutritious than just having whatever?
Right.
And do you see that this is coming with this paradigm shift, that we go back like to the old times, but on a different level?
Well, we're never going to go all the way back there, right? Because we live in a global world today. But we do have access to learn absolutely everything we need to, right? I don't think a college education is important as I thought it used to be the only way to survive, right? I don't think so anymore, because you can take master classes and learn from anyone through Zoom anywhere in the world. You could learn anything. So I think some of that will change. But like you said, we're always going to have technology and things growing. So it can never go back to exactly the way it was. But there are some things that we will need. Right now we have hydroponic food instead of grown in soil. I'm not a big fan, but I can understand why like in our urban areas, we may need that, right? So yeah, I think food's going to become a big thing. Agriculture is getting scary, you know, that will all change. We can't get a lot of the products we used to get. Like now there's just a lot of chemicals in the world. So I think some people, there is a portion of our population that's going to look back and say, wait, I'm going to do it this old way. I'm going to do it the way I was taught or the way they did it way back. And then there's another portion that just wants to move forward. You know, they like the way things are going. Regardless, when you look at, I mean, we could talk forever about like even our health system, right? Our food system that's creating all of our health issues, but it's about money, not about people. It would be lovely if all of that changed, but I think it's going to be a couple more generations before all of it's changed. I do believe that the generation now that's graduating from college will change the world, but they're only, you know, about 22 right now. You know, the babies that were born in the 2000s, they will change the world because they grew up in a global world, right? They grew up with the internet. They grew up with phones. They've always seen a bigger world than any of us have grown up with. So I think as they become leaders and in power, they're the ones that are going to be changing the world for us because they don't see it any other way but a global way.
Yeah, do you think that with that more, I call them humanity plus businesses, will evolve, and the ones that are more destroying the planet, or however you want to call that, like will disappear? Like this kind of change is also happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, will the big Googles of the world leave? No, there'll be some competition. But even companies like Google, right? They don't even require college degrees anymore because they realize creatives aren't going for them, right? So there will be a change, and I think more businesses are looking for their social focus. Like as I grow my business, we have a social focus, right? And I do think that that's the way businesses will be going in the future. And people are not going to buy from companies that don't have that social focus. Now, at least here in America, we have like conglomerates of people that are companies that control everything, like our food system or our dairy, our beef, or, you know, that control so much, it's going to be a lot to break up. I think it eventually will, probably in my lifetime, but I'll be very old. But you know, that's what every generation probably thinks, right? They see the change coming, but I feel like there has to be a great shift that is, and it's happening. We're in it, right? It's happening. But there has got to be some type of fallout or something that we have to go through to get to the other side. It's definitely happening here in the States, probably globally, but it'll take some time before it's all completed, right? It's a huge circle.
Yeah, so of course in Europe things are happening the same way. So we have this companies that are kind of monopoles and rule the food and health system and chemical system as well. Like,
right.
Yeah. So what I feel is it is not about kind of fighting this old system, but it is like creating something that is so attractive that people will decide with their money to go to this new system that is for humanity, that is for the planet, and instead of spending their money where they already know that no, this will go against the environment and against social standards and fairness and ethics, or however you want to call that.
Right. I agree. It'll all shift because we vote with our dollars, right? What we spend money on is how we change the world. So that's why with what I'm creating is if small business owners can all come together, that collective influence and the amount of money we make can influence something because of how we're spending it, right? Or the causes we're backing. So that's how we change the world.
Yeah. So I'm now curious a little bit more to see how are you doing this really? Do you have a strategy if someone comes to you and says, okay, I want to change my life. I know that I want to step into my soul profession. How does this work?
Yeah. So in our organization, we identify someone we call them a soul professional. It means we live in a higher vibration. We have an alternative approach to business, and we are here to help repair the world. And if that resonates with someone, we're like, come on in. And we help them. I help them personally as they come in to really align. What are you trying to do here? What are your skill sets? What's your dream? And how can we create a business out of it? Right. And really, I have them literally write down in 2 columns, what you want, what you don't want. What do you love? What do you don't love? And taking that and actually creating a business. So if 5 years from now you want to live in Italy, let's start putting that on paper now in the plan so we can get there. I think so many people are looking at, well, in 5 years I want to do this, or 10 years, but they're not doing it now in the present moment. They're not doing any steps to get there. So we do that. And as people come into our incubator, they work with mentors on all different sets, right? Because as a founder, you need so much. You need your messaging, you need your marketing, you need to understand small business finance, right? You probably need contracts and attorney and law, but you also need mindset, right? You also need how to design your business around who you are. You need a lot of inner work to create that outer success. So what we do at the Natural Life is we have a mentorship program that is specifically designed for the person coming in. So I meet with them, and if they need all of those things, then they get all of those things. If they only want some of them, say they're a CPA, well, they probably don't need small business finance, right? We line them up with the mentors that they need, and it's all part of membership. And if they're trying to scale their business to a bigger level, whether it be 6 figures or 7 figures, we have masterminds for that. So we meet bi-monthly, twice a month, and there's actually 4 calls, but they're twice in the first and third weeks. And we stay on you with what are you trying to build? What are you trying to do? Because as you know, the road to entrepreneurship is like high highs and low lows, right? And we want to let you know that you're supported, because I think the most important thing to creating whatever it is in life you want to create is to surround yourself with people that are already doing it, right? You should be surrounding yourself by people that are already successful. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're coming into the world, or you've had a business for 2 or 3 years and it's kind of stagnant, you need to surround yourself with people that have already done it and can help you and answer questions to where you are now. Right. And that's what we've created at the Natural Life. So no matter where you are in business, you're mentoring people that are under you, and you're giving help and you're giving support, because the idea of it is that we all rise. It's not competitive. We all need to get better. So I may go to someone to keep my mindset straight, but I may also offer strategy and business talks in the community, right? But I go to other people that are teaching, mindset or soul curiosity. So I'm a student in some, and I'm a mentor in others. And that's what everybody is in the community. You teach what you know, and you are a student to absorb what you don't know. So the idea is to get us all really well-rounded and connected, right? It's all about collaboration and connection, and how can we help? Who do you need to be introduced to? And that's what we're creating in the world. And it's a place of abundance.
Wow, I absolutely love this idea of the circle of learning and supporting,
Yes.
learning and supporting. And while you're doing this, kind of uplifting everybody who is in this community, and this idea of co-creation and not working against each other, because I think this is also something that absolutely needs to change, that we understand when we start co-creating, when we go into cooperation and creating from different perspectives, this will become so much better than when we start to kick each other out of the market, so to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about when we first settled and started creating communities, right? Everyone had their job in the community, right? There was a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, like everyone had their school teachers, and everyone had a piece of that community. So they all thrived. So we're just doing it at the level of business exactly the same way, right? We have people doing everything, and everyone helps their knowledge the next person. So yeah, it's definitely co-creating. It's creating a whole new way of doing business. And we are definitely a disruptor. And the idea is for if you identify as a soul professional, that halfway across the world, if I say I'm a soul professional, someone halfway across the world can say, yeah, me too. And you already know that you have the same core values, the same business structure, the same ideas, and we're here to lift each other up. So yeah, it's definitely a new way of doing business, but it matches the paradigm shift that's happening in the world of being very authentic and true with the credibility of being a professional. Because so many times that's not in the woo-woo world. So we want the credibility. We are entrepreneurs. We just also happen to be spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love also this aspect of getting an understanding what you want to have or create in the future. And I see something that looks like a vision board behind you.
Yes, that is my vision board. I did that. It's probably a year or two old, and you can see I have all these little sticky notes. These are things I'm looking for pictures because I use actual magazines, and there's not a lot of magazines left. Right? You can do them online, but I literally like cutting it out and thinking about what resonates with me.
Yeah.
So as I build my vision, it's all right here. These are the things that are important to me, and I have sticky notes all around. So it helps me stay very focused on what I'm working on.
Yeah. I also use a vision board, and I also use magazines. So I was really like, okay, she's doing this as well. And what I see is something like focusing on that. What happens is that synchronicities appear. Also that I can understand, if I reverse engineer from that point to the present time, what are steps, what needs to happen so that this comes into this path that I want to create. And sometimes the universe is even delivering something better than I expected, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and there's a delicate balance between being in flow and just kind of allowing things to happen and really working and staying focused on your business, right? Because you really need both, but you also have to be in flow and take steps back so you can hear what the next steps are. Because if you're always working, you're not really a visionary anymore, right? We're trying not to create another job for ourselves, but to create this vision of who we want to be that gives us the space we need to serve the world.
Yeah, for me, it's more like, from inside out. So I have to sit and in moments of stillness and contemplation, and attuning myself to what wants to, I don't know, evolve is perhaps the word, or erase, I don't know. And then when I get clarity on that, then I can go outside and do the things. Yeah. So of course, without going out and having certain kind of actions, we can't manifest by only thinking about it. So it needs the clear vision,
action steps,
energy in, and steps.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let us know a little bit more. I'm jumping back to this soul professional. Who are typical clients? Who would come to you? You already said a little bit like could be doctors or lawyers, but who are typical clients?
Yeah, so it's any entrepreneur that is soul aligned, right? So we say, I said it earlier, we live in a higher vibration. We have an alternative approach to business, and we're here to help repair the world. So if someone feels that they're holistic, soul aligned, mission driven, heart driven, whatever it is that they call it, very conscious, they are an entrepreneur. They're trying to create something in the world, right? From the place of authenticity. So they're not doing it the same way everyone's always done it, and they want to feel an alignment, and they want a professional community to align themselves with. Those are our people, right? And it's from people that are just starting out, right? And we even have a free level of membership for people that are just starting out. So they have all the tools and the resources they need to start their business. But as they move further along in their journey, it's really where are they getting the mentorship and where are they learning from? And it's surrounding themselves with other people that think like they do. We have a part that's called our Soul Leader Inner Circle. And those are for people that make $250 or better and have at least 2 people working for them. And we created the Inner Circle about a year ago because I needed that next level, right? So as I need things, I create them and add them to the membership, but I needed peers and I needed mentors. I needed people that were creating these $1 million businesses and staying in alignment. I could pay $30,000 for a mastermind, but as soon as I got there, it was all the wrong energy, right? It was all like you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. No, you don't. You don't have to. Right? There are good business strategies and best trade secrets, and some of those are very, very helpful, right? We have strategic strategy and operation calls for that level. But I couldn't find people that were building brands and staying true to themselves, right? And then treating the people that are working for them with generosity and kindness, right? So when I couldn't find it, I created it. And now I find more and more people because less than 1%, especially of women, of people that have created their own brands make more than $1 million or even hit that $1 million, right? So there's not a lot of people to look up to in the world that have done it in alignment. So that's a big difference too. So I am bringing these people together so I have someone to look up to. I have a mentor, and we can support and collaborate and co-create together. So it's from everyone that are trying to reach those 7 figures to people that are just starting out. They're making under 50,000. We have masterminds at all different levels. And the organization itself, it's a membership base, but I meet with everyone and I curate it to make sure that they're a good fit, because not everyone's a good fit. And we cannot afford to have a bad apple, right? And we don't make people sign contracts anymore to stay, because if you're not getting value out of it, we want you to leave, because we want everyone in our community to be working towards up-leveling, because our businesses need to create wealth, right? So the idea is to reach your highest financial and spiritual potential. Those are the people that we look for. Right. So if someone is soul aligned and they're creating a business in their authentic way, and they really want to up level and co-create with others, because that's the only way you're going to do it. You can't work in a silo. Those are our people that are really impacting the world, that want to make a difference, that want to grow 6-figure and above businesses. Those are our people.
And I'm sure now people are listening and say, okay, where can I call her? So let us know, how can people reach out to you? Do you have a website, social media, or whatever?
Yeah, the best way to find us is soulprofessional.com. It has all the information. We have lots of free stuff, masterclasses, meet and greets, networking. Every single month, we do it differently. We have one networking group that we literally just pull soul cards and talk about the word collectively and break you into groups to meet people. But at soulprofessional.com, they can get in touch with me. They can learn more about membership and what we're creating. And there's lots of free stuff. So you get the resources you need if you're not ready to invest in up-leveling.
Wow, super cool. I will put the link in the show notes so that it is super easy for people just to click on the link and they're right there for you. And
awesome.
Last but not least, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't ask you?
I can't think of anything, but if people are creating things in the world or they're just not sure, they are more than welcome to reach out for me. Just let me know that they heard about me here, and they can use soulprofessional.com/strategy, and it'll ask where you heard me speak. And if they say here, I'm happy to jump on a strategy call with someone for free and just kind of see what they're creating in the world so we can help them.
Yeah, thank you so much for this free gift, and thank you being my guest here and sharing your story and speaking from your heart and from your soul. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, Spiritual-Changemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual-Changemakers-Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.